This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth. For competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty. For the Republic.
I'm the guy who, at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Yes, we don't just report the news, we make the news. And that's what makes us so different. We also report the news in a way that's truthful and doesn't shade it to try to increase ratings or advertising or anything like that. We are getting to the truth and we are seeking justice. And just this week at Freedom Watch, and you can go to freedomwatchusa.org, we filed a massive class action lawsuit against the social media companies, against Google, YouTube, against Apple, against Facebook, against Twitter, against Instagram, against everybody. And we're welcoming others into the case. Who else but Larry Klayman and Freedom Watch would file that suit? Certainly not Judicial Watch. What they do is easy stuff now because they're run by a non-lawyer, Tom Fitton. They get documents. Documents are fine. We get documents too, and I'm going to talk about that later in the show. But what we need is justice because these social media companies, particularly Google, as the president pointed out this week, are run by chief executive officers who are highly leftist, who are discriminating against conservative media and advertising. They're keeping us off of social media, and I'll explain what they're doing to Freedom Watch in just a few seconds. And by doing that, what they're trying to do is to install leftist governments in the nation's capital and our 50 states. And they're currying favor with leftist politicians that they believe are going to seize power to line their own pockets. Now, here's what's been happening with Freedom Watch in particular. Take YouTube's. We have Freedom Watch TV. We, of course, get this radio show up on YouTube every week. And we use other social media. We use Twitter, we use Apple iTunes, we use Instagram, and we use Facebook to get our word out. The reason I use that, excuse me, I'm getting choked up again. That's how upset I am. The reason I use that is because we need to reach the American people. We need to educate, as our founding fathers did. They used the printing press to mobilize the colonies, to sign the Declaration of Independence with the support of the people, and to successfully wage a revolution. Well, today we have even better tools than the printing press. We have social media. And under Roger Ailes, who used to run Fox News, and the people that he left behind, his henchmen, I'm not on Fox News because I say it straight up. I'll say Obama is a Muslim. I mean, he's half Muslim, and he's done everything he can to harm Jews and Christians over his last 8 years. You can't say that on Fox. You can't talk about the phony birth certificate, regardless of where Obama was born. My clients, Joe Arpaio, the sheriff, America's sheriff, Judge Roy Moore, Ryan Bundy, Cliven Bundy, and others, they've been kept off of Fox because Fox is worried about losing advertising, and it's run by two leftists, the Murdoch sons. You know, the only reason they stay conservative in a mild sense is because they have a huge market that was built up by Ailes when he was running the network. And I might add corruptly running the network. So we need the social media to really get the word out. And we need to mobilize you. And here's what they were doing with regard to our YouTubes. We have about 49,000 people that are subscribed to YouTube. We had that many 6 months ago. But ever since that, we've taken a strong position in support of President Trump. Of course, we've done that throughout his administration, but it's getting stronger because I'm calling for the resignation of Sessions. I'm calling for the resignation of Mueller or their firing. We're cranking up our citizens' grand juries. That's something that Judicial Watch would never do. Only we would do. The Justice Department is not cranking up grand juries to prosecute Mueller, to prosecute Hillary and Bill Clinton, to prosecute Comey, to prosecute these corrupt intelligence czars under Obama, John Brennan and James Clapper, to prosecute Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Bruce Orr, the whole lot of criminals. Only Freedom Watch will do that. So they put a governor on this YouTube channel that we have, Freedom Watch TV, and we can't grow. And of course, we know that YouTube has cut Alex Jones off completely. He may have made a few loose comments here and there over the years, but Alex lets you tell it like it is. Alex is an important part of the conservative movement. And in fact, but for Alex Jones, we would not probably have President Trump elected as president in 2016. And there are others like Alex. There's Western Journal. There's other media who are much stronger than Fox News, that are much stronger than what's put out on Judicial Watch's website and YouTube's, which it does. And we need the hard-hitting truth. And that is why I brought this lawsuit. Who else would have done it? Nobody's done it. Everybody talks about it. Commentators on Fox News, they just talk about it. They don't do anything. You know, I urge you to watch Newsmax TV. I'm on Newsmax frequently. I'm allowed to say what I think on Newsmax, and I say it in a diplomatic way. They're up and coming. They're going to overtake Fox News. Radio America gives you a voice. That's the network that this show's on. I'm proud to have them as my friends and colleagues. They let me say what I need to say because we don't have time anymore to pander to ratings and advertisements. We don't have time to offer false hope, as Hannity does every night on Fox News, to boost his ratings and to pound his chest at the same time that he's investing $90 million in slum apartments in Atlanta and then forcing people out. Okay, he pretends that he's poor. He's not poor. Okay, I'll tell you something. I do resent what goes on over there at Fox News because I am so frustrated. And the president said it just last Friday. He said it. He said the people are getting angry. The people want action. He himself has to start watching Newsmax and listening to this radio show. I believe that he does. I send him that stuff, and I see it coming out in what he's saying because it's not the time to mince words. And that's what I love about this president. I think this president is the greatest president in my lifetime. And I loved Ronald Reagan. But Ronald Reagan lived during a different time when things were not as unethical as they are today, when we had at least a partial functioning Justice Department. We don't have one today under Jeff Sessions and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. We have a disgrace. We have a Justice Department that continues prosecutions of people like Cliven and the Bundy family. And then when you win and you have the indictment thrown out, Sessions has his prosecutors file a notice of appeal after he's supposed to be conducting an internal review. This guy, as the president said last Friday, is not just an absolute disgrace. He is a criminal in his own right. He's obstructing justice. Don't be fooled by his nice demeanor. Don't be fooled by his Southern accent. I love Southern accents. I consider myself a quasi-Southerner myself. I went to Duke University, and I went to Emory University School of Law. I also love the West. Frankly, you can take the Northeast these days. It needs to be revamped in a major way. I love Philadelphia. I was born there. It's the home of liberty, but it's falling apart. These parts of the country are bringing the country back to economic prosperity, and the Midwest as well. It's not so much the Northeast. But I don't want to get off on a tangent here, because what I'm basically saying is this, is that we need hard action. We don't need phoniness on Fox News. We don't need phoniness when you hear Tom Fitton on TV, oh, I've got more documents. We need justice, and we need to communicate clearly. You know, something else happened this week, tells you about Jeff Sessions. I got an article that is running on WND.com. That's WorldNet Daily. I write for both WorldNet Daily and I write for Newsmax, and I'm going to start writing for The Hill as well and others, because we need to get the word out. Plus, on our website, you find all of the columns that I've written. But I can't rest at columns. But what this column shows tonight, you can find it on our website at freedomwatchusa.org tonight and Sunday. It'll be running, is that we have a lawsuit. Yes, I get documents too, but I focus on the ones that are actually going to bring about justice. And many months ago, we filed at Freedom Watch a Freedom of Information Act request seeking the communications of Robert Mueller and his leftist corrupt staff with the media, because we know for the last year and a half, grand jury leaks have been occurring to smear the president, to harm his colleagues, to harm people around him, because they're bent not just on possibly indicting the president and removing him that way, or writing an impeachment report over at the Mueller's special counsel's office, but they're out there to destroy him, whatever happens, to lower his esteem, to make sure he never gets elected again and the people around him. And of course, I don't take sides as a Judicial Watch chairman with regard to elections, but I'll tell you something, we can bring about justice. And Judge Emmett Sullivan, one of the few intellectually and apolitically honest judges on the D.C. federal court, ironically, a Clinton appointee. There are some who are honest, not many, but some. And there are a lot of Bush appointees who aren't honest as well, frankly, over the years. He put his foot down and he said, these documents must be produced by September 4th. And as I predicted, just a few days before to be produced, because if these documents are produced and they show grand jury leaks, as I think they will, that's criminal. Mueller will be forced to resign or be fired. That'll be the end of the witch hunt. It will also be the end of Jeff Sessions, because he's been allowing this to happen. So that's how important this is. So they come back and they say, oh, there was a computer glitch. We can't have them produced right now. And we don't know when in the future we're going to be able to get them. That's after 3 months, and Judge Sullivan ordering they be produced after this case has been going on for nearly a year. They'd be produced now. Now, we're going to get into the next segment. I'm explaining to you why they are stonewalling and obstructing justice again at the Sessions Justice Department and running interference for Robert Mueller and running interference for his hack leftist staff and running interference for his corrupt Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who rubber stamps everything that Mueller wants. You don't hear about this on Fox News. You didn't hear about my case concerning class actions against Google, against YouTube, against Facebook, and others. They censor the news. Here at Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman, there's no censoring. We get to the stone's honest truth. We'll be right back with our second segment.
Dangerous.
You don't care. Use the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special Prosecutor
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
The reason that Sessions' Justice Department and his lackey line lawyers that work with him, I mean, these guys are basically Democrats, they're liberals, they're career people. They'll do what they're told. I mean, they don't care what crime they have to further at the Justice Department these days. They know they're untouchable. Nobody's been held accountable for anything over there. We can see that. It's part of this club. It's the Washington, D.C. club. It's the deep state. But the reason for this, and the reason that they don't want these documents to come out now, is that if we show grand jury leaks, as I believe that we will, they are criminal. This will throw a monkey wrench into Mueller's witch hunt. It'll throw a monkey wrench into parts of that witch hunt, which are the prosecution, the second prosecution of Paul Manafort, which is coming up next week. We're talking about other indictments, perhaps Roger Stone. We're talking about General Flynn, who has a plea agreement that he's waiting to have entered. I hope that he retracts it because he didn't do anything wrong. Of course, we found out that that was a complete manipulation by the Justice Department as well. And they're afraid that if it comes out, it might trigger the appointment of another special counsel. Now, of course, Freedom Watch has its citizens' grand juries. We're going to use this information to indict Mueller, to indict Andrew Weissman, his chief deputy, to indict James Comey, to indict Hillary Clinton, to indict Bill Clinton, to indict John Brennan, that corrupt, I can't even describe it on the air, individual who ran the CIA under Obama, and his deep state people are still embedded, someone who has a prayer rug in his office, it's been reported, someone who converted to Islam as the CIA director, if you can believe that. Or James Clapper, that lying, of former director of national intelligence, who said there wasn't mass surveillance on the American people. So our citizens' grand juries are out there. We're going to indict. We're going to try. We're going to convict. We're going to ask the president to enforce the sentences, put these people away in federal prison where they belong. But if the president doesn't do it, we'll arrest peacefully and legally. We're not going to cause violence. We're not going to harm anybody, but we have the God-given right to do it. Justice Antonin Scalia, may his soul rest in peace, said the grand jury belongs to the American people, not to the other three branches of government. And this is why in the Old West in particular, that the people indicted, the people rose up. They were the Justice Department. You had U.S. Marshals like Wyatt Earp that went around enforcing the law. He did what had to be done. He was like Batman. He was like Superman. He was like Wonder Woman. He was like Aquaman. He was like the Flash. Okay, he was superhero in a way. Wyatt Earp and others. And sometimes, and when the situation gets bad enough, you have to take justice into your own hands. I say justice, not lawlessness, justice. The American people need to mete it out right now. We're fed up. The president said he's fed up, that he may take control of the Justice Department. You know what? He should have taken control long before now, because now he's backed up against a wall. They're putting his head on the guillotine, and he's very close to that. And all he has are these clown lawyers going on TV like Giuliani, pontificating, you know, boosting their own ego, boosting their own prestige at the twilight of their career, and not serving the president. You know, we don't need television lawyers. We need lawyers that actually are fighting back. And that's what we're trying to do. We're, in effect, the law firm of President Trump. And why are we the law firm of President Trump? Because he's our last hope. If he fails, if he's thrown out of office, the next president will be a socialist, will be somebody who is 100 times worse than even Barack Obama. And that is why we need to fight ourselves. That's why do not be fooled by the pablum that you get on Fox News, which basically is just to boost their own ratings, run by two liberals, the Murdoch sons. Don't be fooled by Hannity, who every night says, oh, we have major breaking news. Great, you have major breaking news, but Sean, what are you doing about bringing about justice? You don't have anybody on your shows actually bringing hard-hitting cases. You just have a bunch of people on there that are promoting themselves night in and night out. Even Jeanine Pirro, you know, what she puts on, okay, great. So she's bloviating, but nothing's happening. And that's why you need to support our citizens' grand juries. You need to support Freedom Watch. You need to support me. You need to support people like Joel Gilbert and Jason Goodman, people out there that are really waging the revolution, not the prevarication and censorship that you have on Fox News. And you need to share this radio show and Radio America to everybody to get the word out that we don't have time to waste. Our president's going down the drain, and so is the country. And you and your loved ones are going down the drain with it. So please go to freedomwatchusa.org. Donate to our cause, tax-deductible contributions. I'll be right back.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
I want to introduce you again to my very good friends, Joel Gilbert, who is a very accomplished conservative activist and filmmaker in Hollywood. Very rare. They are an endangered species, I might add, in Hollywood. And he also is a host on Infowars with Alex Jones. And then my good friend, Jason Goodman, who runs Crowdsource the Truth, also a very courageous person who gets the truth out, Crowdsource the Truth. And we've all been experiencing these difficulties in getting our word out with social media giants like YouTube, which is owned by Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the whole variety of leftist hacks in the social media that are trying to suppress our advocacy and our free speech, because their goal is, these CEOs are highly leftist, is to install leftist governments, not just in our nation's capital, but in the 50 states, to effect a complete leftist, socialist, atheist, pro-radical Muslim, pro-illegal immigrant, pro-radical feminist, pro-black, radical black, pro-anti-white, pro-everything leftist dictatorship in this country. And of course, we believe in equal justice. We believe in equal rights. We believe in civil rights. Everybody should be treated the same. But we don't want to see this country go the way of leftist dictatorship. And sitting on top of that are our intelligence agencies run by the deep state. So if you get out of line, you'll be smeared and destroyed by the cronies of Barack Obama, George Soros, and everybody else who's infesting our government like the vermin that they are, frankly. I mean, to be blunt. And again, I can say it here on Special Prosecutor with Larry Claim, and Joel can say it on Infowars and through his filmmaking. Jason can say it on Crowdsource the Truth, but you can't say this stuff on Fox News or you'll be banned from the network, as many of my clients have. So I want to turn it over to Joel right now to explain what happened to Alex Jones and Infowars and why our class action lawsuit that we brought yesterday against these media companies is so important.
Okay, well, thanks for having me, Larry. Great to be here, and thanks for all your efforts every day. Wish we had 1,000 warriors like you. We wouldn't have any problems in this country. The Alex Jones case, of course, was actually not a surprise to Alex Jones or Infowars because, first of all, it's been several years that if you just try to Google a story on Alex Jones's website, for example, I've written a story about the Russia hoax, for example, it won't come up. It just doesn't come up, period. On the subscribers, David Knight, one of the hosts there for his program called Newsnight, he had talked about how he used to gain about 6,500 subscribers every single month after month for years, and he was down to only gaining about 500 per month all of a sudden. So they were closing in for some time, trying to probably see what they could get away with and how much they could do without anybody really making a fuss about it. So the Infowars organization was very aware of this creeping censorship, and then it just came full-blown absolutely up front and center, where they all literally colluded, which I think is illegal. And I know, Larry, you filed a lawsuit for many issues related to this censorship, free speech, depriving free speech, as well as collusion. I think RICO as well is in it. And they colluded to crush the First Amendment rights of the Alex Jones show and Infowars to prevent them from sharing information and opinions, essentially. And that's the very essence of what the First Amendment is about and what First Amendment protections were built in to do, to protect the rights of free speech. Now, their excuse, of course, is Alex Jones may have said some dumb things when speaking for 4 hours a day, every day, and entertaining his audience with challenging questions and challenging theories sometimes. And they talk about those issues, and then they work them out. And it's a form of entertainment and information that people enjoy. It's no different and probably not as bad as certainly MSNBC and CNN that just promote all kind of conspiracy theories and hoaxes, racial hoaxes, nonstop, 24 hours a day. The biggest hoax, of course, they promoted Barack Obama in 2008 as the son of a Kenyan goat herder who would bring us all together with his big transparent government. They never went out to Hawaii to check out this guy's story that, he was this moderate guy with no radical connections. I went to Hawaii twice and interviewed people, including his real father's neighbors, Frank Marshall Davis, his real biological father, the man Obama admits raised him, was a Soviet agent, a Russian spy, and a Communist Party propagandist. This is the man that raised Obama. It's his real dad. And that was twice as many visits to Hawaii, as all the mainstream media put together. They never even wanted to know. So there's your biggest conspiracy theory and hoax if you're going to want to start banning people for saying or doing things that are really dumb. That was a really dumb thing the media did, not challenging Obama's lies about who he was and what his agenda was. It was a radical stealth socialist agenda, and he implemented it. And instead of having a transparent government right from the get-go, of course, we're going to talk about Obamacare and have C-SPAN come in. Of course, it was just railroaded through. 2012, he used the IRS to crush the Tea Party movement. This is not new for conservatives. He fixed the election in 2012 using the tools of state, the IRS, to break up the Tea Party movement while the left was allowed to continue to organize. And, of course, we know that he used then the DOJ, FBI, CIA, FISA courts to try to manipulate and destroy the freedom of will of the voters. The Constitution under assault under Obama nonstop, and it continues to this day with the censorship of conservative media. It's not just Alex Jones. They're shadow banning people. They're taking people off of Twitter. Roger Stone was taken off of Twitter. Any small excuse, they'll take you down while allowing the left free rein. And thank God for, Larry Klayman to get this lawsuit going, because I think Orrin Hatch suggested that, the FTC look into it. Of course, Trump talks about it, but we need real action. And without real action, bad things continue to happen. That's what happened with the IRS investigation. They said, we're going to look into this. Of course, nothing happened. We need real lawsuits, legal action, and holding these people accountable. So the Alex Jones Show is now fighting back. Of course, they're bogging him down in this lawsuit in Texas. The parents of one of the Sandy Hook, people are suing him for some kind of defamation because he said something was pretty dumb at the time, but it was just he was trying to be challenging about, is this a government setup? Because Obama immediately jumped in and said, we're going to try to take everybody's guns away. So that was his initial reaction, and later he said, no, of course this happened. So it's entertainment, it's hyperbole, it's a way to get discussions going.
And Joel, that's important that we entertain as well. But what I love about you and Alex and Jason Goodman and Crowdsource the Truth is that you're trying to affect change. We cannot allow for a leftist takeover of this country, a dictatorship. I want to turn it over to Jason right now to explain what his experience has been with Crowdsource. Like you, he understands technology extremely well, and he can add a complementary perspective on what's going on. Jason, let her rip.
Absolutely, Larry. And I also just want to take one step further from what Joel said. I wouldn't say that it was a failure of the mainstream media to follow up with regard to Barack Obama, but rather an active decision to cover up exactly what was going on with Barack Obama, because the media, the corporate-owned, corporate-funded media is absolutely complicit and is the mouthpiece of the deep state. I've done a lot of work with Kevin Shipp, and he goes into great detail about the deep state, the shadow government, and what the components of each of those things are. And the thing that's really interesting that it's becoming even more clear in my mind as I was listening to Joel speak is that, the Infowars, of course, was the tip of the spear in this independent news media world that is now burgeoning. And I recall back in 2008, right as Barack Obama was elected, I had just gotten onto Facebook and was having a conversation with a friend I reconnected with after, 10 or 15 years about the election of Barack Obama. And it just reminded me that social media had virtually no impact in 2008 because it was so new and so few people were on it. But if we fast forward to 2016, I think most people would agree that social media was a critical component in the victory of Donald Trump. And so what I see happening now, as Alex Jones is being tamped down, that's sort of something that the deep state realized and acted on from 2008 to, let's say, 2018. Now their attention is turning more and more to social media because many more people are realizing that, as the president says, CNN is fake news. And, all of these major advertiser-driven corporate-owned news sources have an agenda that's not necessarily compatible with that of American citizens. And in addition to the giants like Google and Facebook, all these guys that are having foundations and making massive multi-million-dollar donations to the Clinton Foundation, which is itself possibly the largest unprosecuted set of financial crimes in U.S. history, they're all tied together. And so, YouTube has been my biggest issue because, Google is allowing these operatives who quite clearly are operating at the behest of the deep state or, these political opposition research firms along the lines of Fusion GPS and Greenberg, Quinlan, Rosner, and Black Cube and Shadowbox and whatever. These guys have operatives who pose as trolls, as people would call them, these sort of losers with nothing to do but sit around making nasty comments on the internet. But it's really escalated. Cheryl Atkinson gave us a view of this in her fantastic book, The Smear. And I've now been experiencing that firsthand, where people who pose as individuals operating on their own accord, I believe are actually part of a network, a shadow network that's intended to defame and even engage in lawfare and utilize the civil legal system to bog down people like myself or Joel and Alex Jones, of course, who are trying to get this information out. They bring these frivolous lawsuits, and it leaves us in a position of, having to answer them, having to occupy resources and money and time and try to take us away from actually reporting on the crimes of these political insiders and, as you would say, Larry, political hacks.
That's right. And, what I've seen specifically, to be clear, is that our YouTubes, and I put, when I'm on your show, Jason, and when I'm on with Joel, I put them up on Freedom Watch TV, which is on YouTube. So we've been hovering at about 49,000 people who are subscribed. It goes up, and then in an hour it goes down, then it goes up again, then it goes down. This has been going on for the last 6 months as we have been promoting these citizens' grand juries, which really have a legal knife to the throat of Mueller, of Comey, of Sessions, of the rest of the criminals, you see? So they want to try to squash the American people supporting bringing about justice on their own. And this is Google, YouTube, Facebook, same games, okay? Instagram, same games. Apple, same games. They're all highly leftist. They're located in Silicon Valley, which is somewhere to the left of Beijing these days. And this is what we get.
It's really bad, Larry, and this is why your lawsuit is so important, this class action suit that you've taken up, because, they need to answer for these things. And, the first step is to alert the public that this is going on. Everybody thinks they're getting all this tremendous value from any of those services that you've just named, YouTube or Facebook or whatever. But, if you think back maybe less than a decade, the concept of a video-on-demand service with millions of high-definition videos to choose from, this is, you think about even, a cable television subscription, you'd pay $100 a month for something like that, and, there's good reason. If anyone's running a business...
You're right, Jason, and, we're coming to the end of this segment. We're going to have both you guys on again because you're extremely articulate. We need people like you who can communicate with the American people. We need people like Gilbert and Goodman who are able to actually say the truth. Thank God for you. God bless you. And we'll have you on in another show, and keep up the great work.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
This is the verdict segment of our show, and there are a lot of verdicts. I think what we basically need right now is real justice. There's a town in California called Hangtown. We don't advocate hanging anybody, but that's the way it was done in the Old West. This was a gold country out in Northern California near Sacramento. And when you violated the law, when you stole, when you cheated, when you murdered people to get gold, what happened? The people rose up and they meted out justice themselves. There wasn't a Justice Department then. You didn't have a Justice Department until July 1st, 1870. You had honest Americans who decided they were going to enforce the rule of law and the Constitution and do it in a neutral way. And if necessary, I'm not suggesting we're doing this, we're not, they put people up on the gallows and hung them. Now, I don't want our people to be hung on the gallows because that's what's been happening lately, whether it's the social media companies that are trying to install these dictators. You know, these social media companies are the blood brothers, in effect, of George Soros, a self-hating Jew who collaborated with the Nazis and his dad to take their property away as they were going to concentration camps. Someone who is so evil. He's been backing Obama. He's been backing the Clintons. He's been backing all these leftist causes. He's been backing Antifa. We have a case against Antifa. I was supposed to have a hearing this Tuesday. It was canceled by the judge. She's going to decide it on the pleadings. But you don't hear about those cases on Fox News. You don't hear about that. You hear about it on this show. You don't hear about my wrongful death case against Hillary Clinton for Benghazi using a private email server that gave up the coordinates of Ambassador Chris Stevens and our two sons, hero sons of our clients, Ty Woods and Sean Smith. I just watched 13 hours at Benghazi yesterday on the plane. I mean, what an outrage. Hillary Clinton has blood on her hands. She needs to be held accountable. We have a lawsuit at the Supreme Court right now. But why don't you hear about this stuff on Fox News? Why don't you ask them? I want to write them. You should write them and ask them. Why don't you have Larry Klayman on? Why don't you have his clients on? Why do you censor the news? Why are you out mostly for ratings and dollars? And that's why you need to support Freedom Watch. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Join our Justice League. Listen to this radio show each week. Support our class action lawsuit that we just brought against Google, YouTube, Apple, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the others. We, the people, need to rise up peacefully and legally. There is no time to waste. We are sinking fast. And when you see a worthless, corrupt attorney general like Jeff Sessions, a so-called Republican, a so-called former senator who was supposed to be conservative, roll over and himself under investigation by Mueller and subverting the rule of law, you know you have no Justice Department. You only have Freedom Watch. Judicial Watch and FIT, and they just get documents. Okay, fine, we can get documents. You get documents. You can file Freedom of Information Act requests. But what we need are hard-hitting lawsuits. We need citizens' grand juries. We need justice. The American people need to rise up and do it for themselves. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. We need to ramp up. We need more resources. We need to be your Justice Department because we don't have one. And we need to support President Trump because if he goes down, and it looks like there's a good chance that the Democrats are going to take control of the House of Representatives and we're going to be in impeachment. And with these disloyal Republicans who are spending all their time honoring John McCain, who did everything he could to harm President Trump, and frankly accomplished little to nothing in his entire career. You can see where these Republicans are coming from, these establishment Republicans. We conservatives, libertarians, people of faith, honest, ethical Americans, we need to rise up like our founding fathers did in 1776 and throw off the yoke of government tyranny. Thank God for people like yourselves. You are the superheroes. You support Freedom Watch. Thank God for families like the Bundy family who stood up to the tyranny of the Bureau of Land Management and of Obama's Justice Department, and to see Jeff Sessions basically allow this thing to continue on with an appeal to the Ninth Circuit. Thank God that we have God who's backing us. He is behind us. You think that President Trump got there by accident? No. God had something to do with that. Jesus had something to do with it. And people of faith and Jews, you know, Joel and Jason, they're both Jewish. I'm Jewish and I became a Christian. But the Jewish left has been siding with the deep state. And I want people to know the Jewish people are not like that. We believe in justice and we believe in the rule of law. God bless you. God save America. I'll be back next week with another hard-hitting edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Until then, keep the faith.